If I asked you which country is the true capital of entrepreneurship and technology, what would your answer be? The United States, Japan, South Korea, perhaps China? Not quite. In fact, you don't need to look that far. How can a country outperform even the United States, home to Silicon Valley, the world's most famous technology hub? The answer is a place most of us know well. A country with more startups per person than anywhere else on Earth. A genuine startup nation, home to well over 5,500 high-tech companies, with around 1,400 founded in 2015 alone. It's also the birthplace of countless brands and technologies that have quietly become part of everyday life, from the products we eat and drink to the software, cosmetics, and consumer goods we use without giving them a second thought. For decades, Israel has dominated headlines because of its long-running conflict with the Palestinians and its complex diplomatic relationships across the Middle East. Roughly the size of Wales, with a population of around 10 million, it is a relatively small country with an influence that reaches far beyond its borders. Surrounded by predominantly Arab nations, it remains the world's only Jewish-majority state. Today, however, we're putting religion, politics, and culture to one side. Instead, we're looking at something very different. Measured by startups and venture capital investment per person, Israel consistently ranks among the world's leading innovation economies. It has earned a reputation as one of the most entrepreneurial countries anywhere, and, in many respects, one of the world's great technology powerhouses. Its political leaders have reflected that entrepreneurial spirit too. Former Prime Minister Naftali Bennett built a successful career in software before entering politics, and many of Israel's senior public figures have strong backgrounds in business, technology, and media. Entrepreneurship isn't simply admired there, it's woven into the country's culture. When most people think about the Middle East, they picture conflict, instability, and geopolitical tension. Israel is no exception. Given its location, avoiding those realities has never been an option. The difference is that, unlike several of its neighbors, Israel cannot rely on vast reserves of oil or natural gas to drive its economy. Its greatest natural resource isn't buried beneath the ground, it's its people. That highly skilled workforce has become the country's greatest competitive advantage. Despite its limited land and small population, Israel has built an influence that far exceeds its size. In a country where both men and women are generally required to complete military service and where security remains a constant concern, education and technical expertise have become national priorities. As a result, Israel has one of the highest proportions of university graduates in the world. There's no denying that the United States remains the birthplace of modern technology entrepreneurship. We've all seen how companies emerging from Silicon Valley have reshaped industries across the globe. The American economy is enormous, worth tens of trillions of pounds, and its population exceeds 330 million people. When you compare countries using only total figures, whether that's GDP, investment, or the number of technology firms, the United States almost always comes out on top. But those comparisons can be misleading. To understand innovation more accurately, you have to level the playing field. Population, geography, access to natural resources, and economic scale all matter. Once those factors are taken into account, a very different picture begins to emerge. And that's where Israel stands out. Today, more than 100 Israeli-founded companies are listed on the Nasdaq, making Israel one of the world's leading sources of publicly traded technology firms outside the United States and China. Now consider the scale of that achievement. China has a population of well over 1.4 billion people. The United States has more than 330 million. Israel has only around 10 million. On a per-capita basis, the gap becomes remarkable. According to the United Nations Human Development Index, Israel ranks among the world's most highly developed countries. Despite its modest size, it consistently performs alongside many of the world's most advanced economies. Its startup ecosystem has expanded at an extraordinary pace. By the mid-2010s, the country was already home to more than 5,500 high-tech companies, and towards the end of the decade, another trend accelerated rapidly: the rise of unicorns. In the business world, a unicorn isn't the mythical creature. It's a privately held company valued at more than $1 billion. In 2016, Israel had just 10 unicorn startups. Only 3 years later, that figure had almost doubled to 90. By the end of 2021, the country was home to $74 billion technology companies, with 33 of them reaching unicorn status in that year alone. To put that into perspective, the United Kingdom has produced many globally recognized technology businesses, yet Israel's ability to generate billion-dollar startups relative to its population remains virtually unmatched. Reaching a valuation of $1 billion is an extraordinary achievement for any company. Yet Israel has produced an astonishing number of them. Today it is home to many of the world's most influential high-tech businesses, while also ranking among the countries most deeply connected to technology in everyday life. It also invests a larger share of its GDP in scientific research and development than almost any other nation. When you look at where the world is heading, it's hard to ignore what that means. Whatever opinions people may hold about Israel politically or culturally, its long-term economic outlook appears stronger than that of many countries in the region. If the future belongs to those who build it, rather than those who simply celebrate the past, then the direction of travel is becoming increasingly clear. So how has a country founded less than 80 years ago, with a population of only around 10 million, surrounded by security challenges, and lacking significant natural resources, managed to produce more startups per person than countries such as Japan, India, South Korea, China, Canada, or the United Kingdom? To answer that, we first need to understand where Israel's entrepreneurial mindset comes from. One of the biggest reasons the country has produced so many entrepreneurs is the level of public support they receive. When someone decides to launch a business, the people around them don't immediately look for reasons why it won't work. Instead, friends, colleagues, and family members often ask a different question: how can I help? And they don't stop at offering encouragement. Many actively contribute their time, skills, or contacts to help the venture succeed. Even when a business fails, failure is rarely treated as the end of the journey. Instead, it becomes the starting point for the next idea. The emphasis is on learning, adapting, and trying again. Now ask yourself a simple question. If you had a business idea today, how many people around you would genuinely support it? How many would volunteer to help you build it? And if your first attempt failed, how many would encourage you to try again, rather than suggesting you give up? For most people, the answer is probably not many. In many societies, the fear of failure ends entrepreneurial ambition before it has a chance to grow. Countless talented people abandon their ideas after one unsuccessful attempt and never return to them. Israel has largely overcome that mindset. Rather than seeing failure as something embarrassing, it's often viewed as valuable experience. Investors, founders, and employers frequently recognize that someone who's already failed may have learned lessons that can't be taught in a classroom. That cultural attitude creates an environment where taking calculated risks is not only accepted, but respected. Alongside that entrepreneurial culture, Israel's unique security situation and the circumstances surrounding the country's development have also shaped its innovation ecosystem in two important ways. The first is compulsory military service. Most young Israelis, both men and women, spend several years serving in the armed forces after finishing school. The second is immigration. Over many decades, Israel has attracted Jewish communities from around the world, bringing together people with different experiences, cultures, and technical expertise. The military, in particular, has played a surprisingly significant role in the country's startup ecosystem. Within Israel's defense forces are numerous advanced technology units where young recruits work on highly sophisticated technical challenges. Before they ever begin university, many gain hands-on experience in fields such as software engineering, cybersecurity, communications, and data analysis. They're not simply taught how to follow instructions. They're encouraged to solve problems. One of the striking differences is the culture inside these units. Compared with many armed forces around the world, the command structure is often less rigid. Junior personnel are expected to think independently, question assumptions, and take responsibility for finding solutions rather than waiting for orders. In some situations, a young recruit can openly challenge the judgment of a senior officer if they believe a mistake has been made. The discussion centers on finding the best answer rather than protecting rank or status. That approach broadens accountability across the organization. Instead of relying solely on those at the top, individuals at every level are expected to contribute ideas and take ownership of outcomes. By the time these young people complete their military service, many have already spent several years working under pressure, solving real-world technical problems, making important decisions, and discovering where their strengths lie. For many Israelis, those early experiences become the foundation upon which future careers and future startups are built. Another major force behind Israel's startup ecosystem is immigration. Across the world, there is a strong connection between immigrant communities and entrepreneurial activity. In many countries, immigrants are more likely to start businesses than the native-born population. That isn't a coincidence. At its core, entrepreneurship is about stepping away from the established path, embracing uncertainty, and taking risks. Those qualities are often shared by people who have already made one of the biggest life-changing decisions possible, leaving their home behind to build a future somewhere new. The United States is perhaps the clearest example of this relationship. Many of its most successful companies were founded or co-founded by immigrants or their children, and Israel has benefited from a similar dynamic. Israel's population is made up predominantly of Jewish citizens, alongside a significant Arab minority and a number of other ethnic and religious communities. Over the decades, Jewish immigration from across Europe, North America, the former Soviet Union, Africa, and elsewhere has brought together people with a remarkable range of skills, experiences, and professional backgrounds. Successive Israeli governments have also introduced policies designed to encourage Jewish immigration, making it easier for people from around the world to settle in the country and become part of its economy. That constant influx of talent has strengthened the country's innovation ecosystem for generations. Looking at the bigger picture, one pattern becomes difficult to ignore. Almost every highly successful nation has developed a distinctive national strength that shapes its long-term success. Germany became known for engineering excellence, precision, and discipline. The United States built its reputation on ambitious thinking, entrepreneurship, and global vision. Japan earned worldwide respect through relentless attention to quality and continuous improvement, while China has demonstrated the power of large-scale coordination and long-term industrial planning. Israel, meanwhile, has concentrated its efforts on entrepreneurship, innovation, and technology. That focus creates a cycle which constantly reinforces itself. More entrepreneurs establish new companies. More investors back ambitious ideas. More engineers solve difficult problems. And as each generation succeeds, it inspires the next to do the same. The result is an economy that consistently adapts to technological change instead of reacting to it after the fact. Even so, those advantages don't tell the whole story. Despite operating in one of the world's most politically complex regions, with ongoing security challenges and very limited natural resources, Israel has managed to build one of the planet's most advanced technology sectors. Creating a globally competitive innovation economy under those conditions requires far more than good fortune. It demands long-term investment, determination, and a culture that rewards people willing to solve difficult problems. Ultimately, whether you admire Israel or disagree with it on political grounds, its approach to innovation offers valuable lessons. For any country hoping to compete in the industries of the future, there is much to learn from those willing to learn it.